We want to talk about the idea of language transfer and the fact that when you're learning a second language, you're not starting from ground zero. So there are a lot of skills that we have from learning a first language that transfer to our second language. And we know that there are some of these skills that transfer across any language pair, English, French, English and Chinese, French and Urdu. And we know that there are others that are more specific to the language family that the two languages come from. So if we talk about abilities that transfer across any language, a lot of the skills that Caroline was just referring to when she was talking about areas of difficulty for students with reading and language impairment, things like phonological awareness, phonological memory, reading fluency. The good news is that once you learn those in your first language, those abilities can transfer across languages. Also, the ability to talk about language at a high level, to identify nouns and verbs, to talk about the placement of an adjective. So metalinguistic awareness is also an ability that transfers across language, as well as a lot of the strategies that we might teach students to use in a particular situation. So reading between the lines, connecting new knowledge to prior knowledge, those are all skills that transfer well across any language. So good news for us. When it comes to some skills that only transfer when languages are similar, these are things that are really more specific to the features of language. So reading accuracy, vocabulary, and grammar, you're going to be advantaged if you are learning a new language that has a lot of cognates, for example, in the second language that you're learning. So if we think about cognate being a word like table and table in French and English, then we know that that's going to be helpful to you, and some languages are going to have more of those and some are going to have less. It's going to depend a lot on whether or not the writing system is the same in those two languages. So we know that English and French are both alphabetic languages where sounds are represented by individual letters or letter combinations, but we know that in Mandarin, for example, a symbol represents a whole idea. And so there may be differences in what skills transfer across different languages. And as ESL teachers, the students in your classrooms are coming to you in a lot of cases with a variety of language backgrounds. And so you may notice that when it comes to grammar, for example, that students whose languages have similar grammatical structures are able to take more advantage of that than students who don't. And so this also would apply to things like syntactic rules. What are commonalities across languages? So in this video clip, they talk about negation. Well, do we always add a word when we negate an idea in English versus Urdu versus French versus German? And so the students are able to explore this idea.